Castle, Sweet Castle, the first episode of Season 5 that brings the slice of lifestyle back into MLP. And holy cow, it was a ton of fun. The story, the music, the comedy, the emotion, this feels like a return to form. I can't remember how long it's been since I felt so entertained by a single episode in MLP. But let's start from the beginning. Twilight starts spending more and more time with her friends, even to the point of complete and total exhaustion. For a while, I thought we just might be getting a bit of Lesson Zero Twilight if she kept up this kind of schedule, but that wasn't the episode's focus. Instead, we have a lesson about what makes a house into a home. And granted, this is a rather simple lesson that children can easily understand. But the steps this story took to teach that lesson actually surprised me. At first, when the rest of the main six were singing about how they were going to bring all of their favorite things to the castle in order to make Twilight feel more comfortable, I thought that everyone was going to learn a lesson about how your methods may not work so well for others. So, were we going to have a bit of a rehash of the moral from Testing 1, 2, 3 in a rather predictable episode overall? Actually, no. The main six figure out what they've been doing wrong really early on and move on to other story elements. And when they began arguing amongst themselves about what should and should not be removed, I thought the episode was going to take another predictable turn. Was Twilight going to come back and get everyone to work together again as per usual? Actually, no. While the main six bickering with each other felt just a bit forced, it really didn't last all that long. They actually came up with a rather clever idea on how to make the castle feel like a home for Twilight. And even when I was watching this episode via live stream, I was reading through all the comments from other viewers, and practically everyone, including myself, thought that they were just going to fill the castle with books, make it feel more like a library. And that certainly would have made sense for Twilight. I'd still have thought, why didn't Twilight ever figure that out herself, but it would have been a fair way to end the episode. However, we get an incredibly creative idea that I really don't think anyone could see coming. Using the roots of the Golden Oaks Library as a sort of chandelier, with various gems hanging from it that each have an image of a precious memory. You know what? Kudos to the writers for coming up with a story that actually surprised me in a really good way. Even more impressive is the fact that this is the first episode of MLP that Joanna Lewis and Christine Sonko have ever written. I sincerely hope that we get to see even more episodes from these two in the future. But the story isn't the only entertaining element here. This new song, Make This Castle a Home, is actually rather catchy. Some of the lyrics feel a bit awkward, but it has a rather positive and uplifting feel to it, and the visuals were actually rather effective as well. I think I personally prefer the reprise later on in the episode, but I can see myself listening to both versions many times over the coming weeks. And then we have the comedy. While I admit that not every joke hit bullseye, the ones that did are fantastic. The moment when Spike shows up holding a Rarity plushie not only gives a great nod to show continuity, but makes for a clever joke for any brony who has ever bought a plushie of their own. I actually enjoyed seeing Twilight revisiting the spa, as I'm sure there's going to be a lot of fan art popping up with that new hairstyle of hers. But I was not prepared for Bulk Biceps breaking through the wall and giving the fanfic writers a whole new set of story ideas. That was truly hilarious. I have to give credit to the animators for coming up with a lot of entertaining new poses and expressions for these characters. I suppose some of the humor here won't be nearly as entertaining for anyone who is just starting to watch the show, which could be an issue for some people. But for anyone who's been a dedicated fan for the past few years like myself, I am continually impressed. But even more than great writing, catchy music, and clever comedy, this story actually has a lot of heart. I was so glad to see an episode that focused on Twilight and Spike's loss. That not everything in their lives has always been for the better. I realize that we may never get to see the death of an actual character in this show, but in a way, I think the MLP staff have given us something similar yet profound. And for all those fans who were sad to see the Golden Oaks Library destroyed at the end of Season 4, I hope this will help show that the writers do appreciate our community, even if it wasn't specifically for our sake. I'm glad to see that these genuinely heartfelt moments are in the series. All in all, Castle Sweet Castle is a fantastic entry and a great return to form for the slice of life stories that MLP does so well. But now I would like to hear from each of you. What do you think about Twilight living in this new castle now that they've shown how much she truly misses the Golden Oaks Library? Did you enjoy all the nods to continuity here? Are you a fan of the new song Make This Castle a Home? Was there anything about the episode that didn't work for you? I would like to hear your thoughts on Castle Sweet Castle, and here's looking forward to even more great entries in the MLP series. I am Dr. Wolf, and I look forward to hearing from you.